Dr. Christopher West here, the Theology, the Body Guy. What should a husband do when his wife declines his sexual advances? I think you'll be interested in the answer I'm going to give. If you're new to this channel, we are all about exploring how our earthly bodies reveal heavenly, divine mysteries. If you want to dive deeply into what it means to be human, you're going to want to subscribe to this channel and leave a comment, click the notification bell, share this video. All of that compels YouTube to share the gospel with the world. We're continuing the series where I'm looking at questions from my book, Good News About Sex and Marriage. If you want to follow along, a link to this book is below. So what should a husband do if his wife is declining his sexual advances? My answer to this question comes on page 93 and 94 of my book, where I'm addressing this specific question. My mother said that when she was first married, a priest told her that she was obligated to submit to her husband's sexual needs upon request. What's up with that? Here's how I respond. I don't doubt, first of all, that your mother was told such a thing. The church has long been fighting to correct errors that stem from misinterpreting St. Paul's admonition for wives to submit to their husbands. If you want to see a whole video I did on that question, a proper interpretation of wives submit to your husbands, check out the link right here. This is one such misinterpretation of Paul's teaching, that a wife is obligated to submit to her husband's sexual needs on request. And it's a very serious error. In the end, it does nothing more than bless and justify a man's disordered desire to use his wife for his own selfish pleasure. Marriage does not justify a spouse treating another spouse as a thing for his or her own selfish gratification. So let's be very clear. It has never been the teaching of the church that husbands are free to use their wives. On the contrary, it has been the constant teaching of the church that husbands are called to love their wives as Christ loves the church. And this includes what goes on in the bedroom. Now, I know the dysfunction goes both ways here, and I'll address that in a minute. But let's keep zooming in on the case in point where we're talking about men treating their wives as objects. While they may not clearly recognize it, many wives experience a deep resentment towards their husbands that stems from being treated as a means to an orgasm. Let's be honest here. Let's not think the proverbial, "I have a headache, honey," is without cause. Such hedonism on the part of the husband often produces a dreadful cycle that goes like this. The husband desires sex for selfish purposes. His wife resists being used. The husband complains all the more that his wife isn't putting out. His wife withdraws all the more in the face of his complaints and demands. This problem is further compounded by the fact that most men will point the finger of blame at their wives when the lion's share of the problem probably rests with them. That said, this is very important. Women also have their own disorders and dysfunctions to deal with here, and they deeply wound their husbands as well. I've spoken to countless men over the years who have been belittled and even emasculated by the manipulations and selfishness of their wives in the bedroom. Oh, the havoc and pain that sin has wrought on the original harmony of the sexual relationship. In all of this dysfunction, in all of this pain, let us never forget the words of Christ. In the beginning, it was not so. And here's the good news of the gospel we must never forget as well. Christ came into the world to restore creation to the purity of its origins. And his first miracle is at a wedding. We've all run out of wine here. And when we try to love without the wine of God's love in us, you can't give what you don't have. We have to drink deeply of this new wine that Christ gives us in order to learn how to love as Christ loves and thus restore harmony to the relationship of man and woman. I go on. The balance of genuine love in sexual intercourse must be maintained by husband and wife. Hence, before casting blame on the other, both spouses must have the humility and the courage to look into their own hearts to see how their own personal brokenness may be contributing to the frustrations and tensions in their sexual relationship. At the same time, John Paul II says that the husband has a special responsibility to ensure that the balance of love between the sexes is restored. Why? Well, look at the anatomy. It is the man who gives the gift of the seed. It is the wife who opens to receive that gift. My brothers, this places a special responsibility on our shoulders to ensure that the gift we are offering is a sincere gift. And so, not that there isn't responsibility on both sides here, there absolutely is, but a particular responsibility rests with us as men to ensure that the gift we offer is sincere. So husbands, if your wife is constantly making excuses, resisting your advances, and claiming headache, here's my suggestion. Have the courage to examine your own heart and motives. What's going on in there? Is your desire for sex a desire to make a gift of yourself to your bride and to renew your marriage commitment? Or is it more just a desire to scratch an itch, to relieve your own tension, to use her for your own selfish gratification? My brothers, there's another way to see. There's another way to think. There's another way to experience our sexual desires. Really and truly, we can be transformed inwardly such that sexual desire itself can become the desire to lay down our lives for our brides. Only as we accept the journey of this inner purification, only as we take responsibility for the ways that we have used and hurt the woman we claim to love, only as we put all of that in the light and allow our desires to be all the more purified, will we find a wife who desires to respond to the gift we initiate. The temptation to point the finger of blame at the woman goes the whole way back to Genesis. And here I think we could all stand perhaps a little wisdom from the prophet Jimmy Buffett. Some people claim that there's a woman to blame, but I know, it's my own damn fault. A little bit more of that, a little more acknowledgement of my own brokenness and how it has contributed to the tensions and problems will go a long way in resolving those tensions and problems. My brothers and sisters, I have so much more to share with you about God's glorious original plan and how the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ can really restore that plan in our lives. And I do in the other videos on this channel. I encourage you to explore those. And I do the deepest dive in the courses I teach for the Theology of the Body Institute. I encourage you to click the link below to learn more about those online and in-person courses. Until next time, may our eyes continue to be opened to who we really are.